Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Prospect Sierra's virtual elementary open house. Happy Sunday. We're really happy to have you here this morning. We are also recording this webinar just in case friends who were not able to attend are able to watch this at a later time. So please know that we'll put this on our website that can be viewed again or that can be shared with friends. My name is Renee Thompson. I'm the Director of Enrollment and Outreach here at Prospect Sierra, and I'm really happy to have you here this morning to hear from the people that I love and adore, our faculty and our staff. This event is specifically for TK through fourth grade families, and whether you're looking at TK, third grade, fourth grade, first grade, we hope that there's something here for you as you explore whether or not Prospect Sierra might be an option for you. We really want to share our values, our approach to loving our students. We deeply care about our students ages 4 through 14 during their time with us. So I want to just highlight who you're going to hear from this morning. And we have a welcome video from Nisa Frank, our head of school. You'll also get to hear from Kisei Rodriguez, the elementary division head or principal of our elementary campus. And then again, my favorite part is hearing from the teachers. And as a parent myself, those are the voices I wanted to hear from, the students and the faculty. So I'm really delighted that you're going to get to hear from Jessica Walker, Preeti Hulse, Gil Grimmett, and Sophia Janone, who is our school psychologist. And that just puts a bow on this experience for me. And then last but not least, we will have a wrap up with the next admission step. This webinar is specifically information sharing only, so there isn't a question and answer session or an opportunity to raise your hand. We really invite you to hold those questions, write them down, and attend one of our virtual online information sessions, which is interactive, or join us for a campus tour in person. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it on to our head of school, Nisa Frank.
My name is Nisa Frank. I'm the head of school here at Prospect Sierra, and I am not with you today because I am home tending to a new little one in my house. But I just wanted to make sure that you all receive the same warmth and joy that you would have if I were there with you today. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I am what's called a head of school, which is a role that not everybody knows what it is, but in independent school, my job is really just to make sure that everybody walks through the door as joyful and as safe and feeling capable of their role as possible. And so I take that job seriously, but it started a long time ago. I'm born and raised in Berkeley, California. I went to independent schools my entire life. My parents stretched completely to make sure that my brother and I had an independent school education from the time that we were in preschool all the way through high school. My family was incredibly intentional about having independent education for specifically Black children, as I went to an all family run independent school from preschool through 5th grade. And that shaped a lot of who I thought I would be in the future. And so being a teacher was very much on my list of people I wanted to be when I grew up. So it was organic for me to move on to being a teacher when I was in my 20s. So I moved to New York City, went to a wonderful graduate school called Bank Street College of Education, where I learned about progressive education. I learned to be an incredible listener of children and how the impact of that listening guided their learning and the program that we could create that centered them all the time. I stayed for about 12 years and created more of what I felt like was an internship process towards this role that I have now. I was a person who immersed herself in everything and every school I was in and took on both formal and informal roles that allowed me to now be a head of school who understands how a school functions, but even more importantly, empathizes with every role that exists within our space. I've been a student, I've been a teacher, I've been a director of admission, and now being someone who gets to think about the vision of our school and where we go from here feels like a real honor, but I also feel really prepared. Landing at Prospect Sierra was not something that I thought I would do when I was in my last role, which was as a lower school division head. I was really happy working with younger children, as that had been my degree and my practice. But I saw myself here when I stepped onto the campus, and I saw not just my older self, I saw my younger self and what I experienced as a child. in my elementary school experience that I referenced a little bit earlier. I saw the love, I saw the joy, I saw the compassion, and I saw the engagement. Kids were happy to be in their spaces. Adults were happy to be in their spaces. And so my hope is that today you get a sense of all of that through some of the other folks that you're going to hear from. I could be there with you, but I wanted to give you a little bit of a glimpse into what I do. At Prospect Sierra, our mission is to inspire and equip students to create a more inclusive and just world through deep and meaningful intellectual engagement, self-knowledge, and care for others. I love our mission because it's deeply rooted in our core values, which are love, justice, innovation, and impact. We've used those core values along with our mission to create a really dynamic vision for our future. The school went through a strategic planning exercise over the past year and a half and have settled on priorities that will enable a future for Prospect Sierra that'll last well beyond any of our years. Our vision is to be a vibrant and inclusive educational ecosystem in which students, faculty and staff and families learn, innovate, and thrive, creating mutual positive impact with the broader community. Those priorities include integrating across our efforts in change making, equity and inclusion, social emotional learning, and ecological literacy to deepen our rigorous program, to create more opportunities for students to gain agency and voice in their learning as true ecosystem partners, to design open pathways for educators to grow professionally and enhance their wellness, and to strengthen financial sustainability by developing creative connections to Prospect Sierra learning. We hope you'd bring you along in this vision for our school.
Good morning, everyone. I am Keisha Rodriguez, the elementary school head here at Prospect Sierra. I'm always so deeply touched every time I watch that video with Nisa Frank at the head of our school, just leading us and guiding us in the work that we do. I'm going to share a little bit about myself and then why elementary school is so important and hopefully why you see how much we love Prospect Sierra. This is actually my first year at Prospect Sierra, although it's my 16th year in education. I landed at Prospect Sierra after numerous roles such as teacher, vice principal, DEI director, and now the elementary school head here. And I truly feel like I have found a place that not only I can call home, but values the same things that align with my values, both personally and professionally. Born and raised in Oakland, California, I am also a product of independent schools and really found that Prospect Sierra not only encourages and enriches our students' lives, but the adults in our community as well. Really believing that we're lifelong learners and that if we find joy in what we do every day, we pass that joy on to our students and we learn from them as well. You'll see the pictures on this screen, a variety of pictures that have led me to today and why I'm here with all of you. Starting with the picture in the top left corner is my mother and I at 4 years old, right before I was jumping into elementary school. My mom was a single parent. She believed in providing the best education possible for me. And so I landed in an independent school that would fully support not only a different family structure, but also a shy kid who wasn't quite sure who she was or what she wanted to be when she grew up. And that school fostered a love of learning for me and then actually led me into why I wanted to be an educator. I wanted to provide that reflection for other students. I wanted to see a brown leader at the head so that young girls and boys could see that in themselves as they develop their own understanding of what it means to be a leader and a change maker in the world. Right now, we're fully in a change-making unit at the Tapscott campus of Prospect Sierra, where all grades TK through 4 are understanding what it looks like to be a change maker in action, what it looks like to make change in a community. And they are teaching me each and every day a new way to make change. And I feel so honored to be a part of this community. You'll see I was in 2 different classrooms here on this picture, both in public education and in an independent school. And what I learned from those experiences is every child shows up to school wanting to be embraced with love and warmth and kindness as they succeed in a curricular moment, or they may have a challenge in a curricular moment. And our teachers at Prospect Sierra do that. They allow children to be themselves, to guide themselves in their own learning with the help of the adults in the classroom. We're really fortunate to have incredible teachers here who want to listen to the children, who want to learn from the children, and then say, how can I take what their interests are and make our curriculum better? I'll just quickly talk about the donut picture in the top right corner. That was from Halloween, where our music teacher and I were coffee and donuts for breakfast, and we emceed our Halloween parade. I keep this picture on the slide because joy truly is at the heart of our school, and you can't find joy without having fun and happiness. And Halloween is just a perfect example of a time where it doesn't matter what your age is, you just show up and you have a good time, and you put on a costume that makes you laugh or makes you feel good, and you just come to campus and have a good time with everyone who comes. All of our parents are invited, our students do a fashion show, and it's a perfect example of a time where we all just show up with joy and love. So as we go on to the next slide, I'm going to talk a little bit about what brought me to Prospect Sierra and why it is such a special place to watch children ages 4 through 10 and 11 just thrive and grow and blossom. As I said, this community believes in children as learners and teachers and really how we grow together. And it also believes in the adults learning and growing from one another. So we provide a lot of time for them to meet together, to collaborate, to get to know each other's curriculum so that they can support the learning process. And one of the most important parts of that is our specialist program. We have 8 specialists that are introduced beginning at TK. Our TK students don't necessarily take all 8 specialists in 1 year, but they meet them. They know that they're their future teachers. They know that they're there to support them. Beginning in kindergarten and all the way through 4th grade, our students are exposed to all of these classes: art, collab, drama, library, music, PE, science, and Spanish. This gives them such a well-rounded education, and not just because kids love art or kids love PE, but because our teachers allow them to see themselves as successes in those classes. And then once they feel confident and thriving in those classes, they're able to go back to their homeroom class and remember that confidence and keep it in them as they dive into reading and writing and math and humanities. And we often connect the subjects. So library might be supporting a research project that's happening in 4th grade where they're writing research reports, or our music teacher may be supporting 2nd grade as they're learning about plastics and singing about how we can do better with not using single-use plastics. So the wide range of specialists allow our students to not only see themselves reflected in the curriculum, but also support them throughout their day. We have an incredible student support team where we have 2 learning specialists on our campus and a school psychologist who I'm delighted you will hear from in just a few moments. And this student support team, it doesn't just help kids who might need a little extra boost. It helps kids in all ways. It helps teachers in all ways. We have meetings where we come together and we say, what's going really well for this grade level? And what are the areas of growth for this grade level and for the students in it? And how can we be better educators to meet the needs of our students? So again, incredibly fortunate to take the learning that we get from our children and reflect it back to them as adults when we can learn and do better ourselves. And then we have an extended program. Our before and after school care are just another part of our school and our classroom and our daytime. It's not like extended program is a different piece of our world. It's actually just as important as our students' school day. We have close contact with our extended programs before and after school care leaders, and we make sure they are involved in the curriculum planning, in the discussion of what's happening on the playground, in what lunch looked like, or maybe a child who's feeling kind of sad that day and might need a little extra love or an extra snack when they get to our extended program after school care. We have on-site enrichment classes as part of that program, where cooking class, coding class, Legos, walk in the nature, a park across the street with our TK teacher, a music drumming class with our music teacher. Our on-site enrichment classes, they vary. I could go on and on about the incredible classes offered, but just to say that we continue the learning before and after school. We continue the ability for kids to really just dive into what they love and what they want to do. We continue the opportunity opportunity for them to make friends across grade levels. One of my favorite parts about visiting EP is seeing our kindergarten students playing with our fourth grade students, or our TK students having a best friend who's a second grader, and they want to show me the imaginative block house they've built, or the restaurant that they've created. I just went to EP on Friday, and they created an entire pizza parlor where they were serving pizza to me. And these were students who are grades K-4, just working together, building and collaborating. And we offer summer camps, another incredible part of our program where kids don't just have to stop and say bye in June. They get to keep coming back. And I'll tell you what, our kids love to come back to school. They are eager to come back every morning as they jump out of the car. And we get to continue that love of Prospect Sierra throughout the summertime as well. On this next slide, what you'll see is an example of a kindergarten schedule. And I think it's important to point this out, not just because you'll get to see all the amazing things our kids get to do throughout the day, but also that you get to see that everything is as important as another. So every subject, whether it's math or handwriting or Spanish, we take it incredibly seriously that our kids are exposed to all of these programs, that they get to dive into them and say, look at what I did in math class today, and share that with their Spanish teacher or their humanities teacher. We use literacy curriculum from Collaborative Classrooms, Being a Reader and Being a Writer. And we find that these programs really help student interest to really explore what are the stories that they have inside to share with the outside world. So how do we find those special moments for them to write about? I'll give you an example. In kindergarten, they build story narratives, maybe through Play-Doh or through Magna-Tiles or through Legos. And then they begin to draw a picture about what they write. And then the next step of the writing process, they write about it. So we give them the opportunity to tell stories in a number of ways. In math, we use bridges, and again, allowing kids to explore what math looks like. I observed a class where they were doing tally marks, and the kids were sorting bears by colors, and then tallying, learning to close the gate when you get to 5, and then practicing counting by 5s, by 10s, by 20s, depending on their grade level. Really, again, diving into that idea of progressive education, and what does it look like to be a hands-on learner, to be a self-motivated learner, to be engaged with each other in the classroom and collaborate with one another as children throughout their years. Our next sample schedule is of 3rd grade. And similar to the kinder one, you'll see that they're in specialist classes throughout the week for different time periods in different size classes. We have 2 teachers per classroom, which is a wonderful ratio for allowing for small group work, for partner work, for teachers to get to know their students as individual learners. They might be checking in with them throughout the day in their writing program where they're having writing conferences, or the reading program where they're having reading conferences, or even during like a flex time or a choice time, they might notice, my child goes to the sandbox. One of my students goes to the sandbox every day. How can I involve sand in my next lesson? Or can we explore sand in the science class? And again, really following students' lead and bringing it back to connecting to what our curriculum is. And now I'm going to introduce the people you really want to hear from, who are our teachers. But again, I just want to thank you so much for being here with us this morning. And I look forward to seeing you at our next information session. And now our 4th grade teacher, Jessica Walker.
Hi everyone. I'm Jessica Walker. I am one of the 4th grade lead teachers, and I'm going to talk with you a little bit today just about my story here at Prospect Sierra and just sort of my approach and why I continue to stay here at Prospect Sierra and thrive and enjoy this experience so much. So I am thinking about sort of my path to become a teacher. I am the oldest grandchild of a very large family. And because of that, I grew up with many, many cousins and who were quite a bit younger than me. And so throughout my childhood, I was really exposed to babies and toddlers and young elementary aged children all the time. And that instilled in me a really deep sense of appreciation and delight in the world of a child, what their development looks like, and the pleasure of getting to just spend time with a young human being. And I've been thinking a lot about the idea that observation leads to affection. And a close observation and continuous observation leads to affection. And I think that that's one of the joys of teaching, is that we get to spend a year with 25 people who we get to closely observe and then build this deep love and this deep appreciation for who they are and who they are as individuals and who they are as students. And that, I think, was really instilled in me from a very young age. I just had a conversation the other day with our students about how babies and children are really the hardest working people that I know, because they spend all day learning. If we think about a baby, they spend all day doing push-ups. What is that? That is an incredible amount of work and energy that they do. And we see that same thing with children, same thing with fourth graders, where they're spending their whole day working so hard to learn and to grow. And our job as teachers is to foster that, to cherish that, and to support that, while also driving our goals with the curriculum that Kisei just spoke to for reading, writing, and math and humanities and their social development. My sort of formal career as a teacher began when I went to South Korea and taught English in a small town in South Korea for a year. And that was a really wonderful experience, a really formative experience for me. And then when I came back to the United States, I enrolled in the Bay Area Teacher Training Institute, where I got my credential, and I worked at Prospect Sierra for 2 years as an associate teacher under a fourth grade master teacher, and then also in first grade as well. And then after that, I moved into being a co-lead in kindergarten for 2 years, and then moved into my current position as a fourth grade lead teacher, which I am now. This is now my 10th year teaching fourth grade. And what I really value about my progression is that I had the opportunity to be with some of our very youngest learners in kindergarten. And although fourth grade is certainly the place that has my heart, kindergarten and been with kindergarteners and learning from kindergarteners was such an important part of my development as a teacher, because it let me see where our youngest learners begin their journey, and then being able to see where they leave our elementary school campus and go over to our Avis campus. And I actually had the pleasure of teaching 2 years twice. So I had them in kindergarten and then again in fourth grade. And that was a wonderful experience. It was very humbling, because it allowed me to see who they are as kindergarteners is the same person that they are in fourth grade. And it's our job really to just support that growth and help them, lead them into a deeper understanding of who they are, both academically and socially and really emotionally. So this is, yes, my 14th year at Prospect Sierra, and I often feel just so lucky to be at this school, because it has allowed me to really thrive in this incredible way. And I think that it's allowed me that not because we are a perfect school, but because we prioritize relationships with each other. So and my fourth grade teaching team, in my colleagues throughout the school, relationships with parents and relationships with students are the foundation of a successful school environment. And this school, Prospect Sierra, supports that and fosters that so much that I am able to grow and learn every day as a teacher through small moments in the classroom where I have a realization about a student by talking with my colleagues about what might support them, and then to sort of bigger moments of being able to go to conferences. And I just attended a math conference, and that combination of these small moments of reflection and then these bigger picture moments of more intentional sort of these learning pieces help me grow and stay very engaged. because the growth of teachers is another huge asset of this job, is that what we do every day, we actually can come back and do again and do it even better the next day or the next year or with the next group. So we're continually improving our craft as teachers, which to me is just a deep joy, to be able to get better at something each time that I do it. I also have the pleasure of being a parent at this school. So I have a current kindergartner and a third grader, and I have always felt we're doing a great job. And then when I see my own children experience the learning at Prospect Sierra, I am really just blown away by the incredible education that they get, the learning, not only the academic part, but the humanities curriculum that they come home with and that they teach me, the songs that they learn, what they're doing in CoLab, what they're doing in third grade. All of these things come home to me, and I get to hear it as a parent and just enjoy that experience that they get to have each day with their classmates, and also, as Kisei said, with the rest of the school community. That really they see anyone at the school as their potential friend, which is incredible. When we sort of think about new students, so we have, as a fourth grade teacher, every year I have new students who enter into our classroom who come from other schools. And we take that transition really seriously. And we know how important it is to set the stage for a successful year. And again, we do that by intentionally building in opportunities to learn how to build relationships with each other. So we know that what supports a new student in our community actually supports all of our students, every single one of them, because it's a focus on how do we form new relationships? How do we collaborate with a partner in an academic setting? How do we figure out what we're going to do at lunch and at recess when it might seem like there's so many options? How do I choose what I want to do, what feels good to me? All of those things we take really seriously and develop throughout the year, because we know that what happens in the first month of school is only the beginning of their journey of a transitioning into our space, and that we're going to do that again in January, and that we're going to have those relationship building moments again in April, really throughout the year and very intentionally, so that our new students feel very integrated into what we do as a school. Which is very important. So I thank you so much for letting me share a little bit about my story today. And I am very happy to pass on to Preeti.
Good morning. I am Preeti Hulse, and I have the privilege of teaching third grade at Prospect Sierra. And like Jessica, I'm also a parent. So I have an 8th grader, a 6th grader, and a 4th grader currently at Prospect Sierra. And I started my journey at Prospect first as a parent. And a few years into being a parent at the school, I ended up also enrolling in a graduate program, and I taught first grade for 5 years, and now I've moved on to third grade. And I feel like I've found my spot in third grade. It brings me a lot of joy. You can see on the slide, I am the daughter of immigrants. I grew up in Los Angeles. On the top left, there's a picture of my mom, my dad, and my paternal grandmother, who I called Ba. And she lived with us. And so I had the pleasure of having an extended family live in my home, and it made a huge impact on who I was as a young person. And it also was an interesting way to grow up, because I often went to school and didn't feel like I really belonged, and I didn't really see my family reflected back in my school or in my schoolwork or in the books that we read. And so finding Prospect Sierra has actually, it's actually been really big for not just my children who get to attend Prospect, but also for me. I found the school as an adult where I finally feel like I belong. And it's a really, really sweet feeling to have Prospect. I think the thing that really resonates for me is that we do support students' growth at the school, but Prospect Sierra has also supported my growth, both as a teacher by, in this bottom right picture, you can see Prospect supported my spending a summer with Columbia University and, digging more into what it means to be a thoughtful, progressive teacher. And then in the bottom left, you can see I had set a professional goal for myself to present one day at a conference, and with the help of colleagues who you can see in the picture and our senior admin, it's a professional goal that I've been able to achieve. And so, yes, while we support students and that's our primary goal, what keeps me engaged and passionate about my work is that I also feel that support and I get that growth from my senior admin and from my colleagues. And so it really is a special place to work. In the top right, when it comes to belonging, this is a picture from last year of a family share. And it's something that's open in every single classroom. If there's a family who wants to come in and share a little bit about who they are, we have so many opportunities for kids to feel seen and heard and really like they matter and their experience and who they are matters. I'll take the next slide. So this is a picture. There's lots of pictures on here. There are a mix of first grade classroom from when I taught first grade and also third grade. But I think what you'll notice consistently in all of those pictures is the level of engagement for students. While I, as the classroom teacher, might introduce a concept or a topic of study, really what happens is students engage with their learning in really concrete ways. So they get to play with things and they interact and they have conversations, and the learning and the meaning that they make around what they're experiencing comes from each other. So while the adults in the classroom might help guide a lot of that, the intentional and the really thoughtful learning comes from each other. I think this is, when I see these pictures, it's like, oh yeah, I wish I had this as a kid. The chance to not just be sitting in rows and to be told not to talk or not to speak. At Prospect, it's about talking. It's about collaborating. It's about challenging each other in respectful ways and, really putting it to each other to grow and expand on our thinking. I'll take the next slide, Renee. And then even, for me, when, I don't know if this is true for lots of other adults in the classroom, but when it came to literacy was like an isolated thing that we did in a little bubble. You might check in with a teacher. Again, a lot of the classroom time is spent collaborating with peers. And so, yes, we're going to teach math concepts and we're going to teach your children how to read and write amazing stories. But really what's woven within all of that teaching is, how do you communicate with each other? How do you speak to someone? How do you recognize when a friend might be having a hard time, and how do you support that? How do you help them through? How do we not leave anybody behind in the classroom and outside of the classroom? And then I really love that there's a picture of Kelly on this slide, who is my current associate. And when I think about the parent cohorts that I've gotten to be a part of over the now 10 years at Prospect, there's a running joke with families about how when we drop our children off at school, they leap out of our hands. They fly out of cars. They come running in joyfully, smiling. And when I was really thinking about that, I realized that I too come to work every day like that. I'm excited to come to work. And that is because of people like Kelly and people who you see on this panel, my colleagues, the senior admin, all the faculty and staff. They challenge me, they engage me, they make it so that I want to be at work every single day, whether it's a really hard day or a really fun, exciting day. There's nowhere else that I want to be. And so I think that it goes across all of our experiences, whether you're a student, a faculty member, a staff member. You feel that engagement, you feel that belonging, you feel that sense of, this is where I want to be every day when we show up. thanks for letting me share with you all this morning. And I hope that I see you on campus soon. I'm going to hand it over to Gil, who is our CoLab teacher.
Gil, you're muted.
My apologies. I'm not used to being on Zoom meetings, and so I still make these silly mistakes. Good morning, everyone. Sorry about that. So my name is Gil Grimmett. I'm the kindergarten through fourth grade CoLab teacher. And so first, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background as you look at some of these wonderful slides in front of you. I first came to teaching children by being a babysitter in my church back in high school. When I was 15 years old, I could barely sit through a 45-minute session of a sermon, and I would much prefer being downstairs, like hanging out with the little kids and playing with whatever they were doing, than sitting up there with the boring adults. And so that was my first experience actually working with kids. Formally, my first job teaching was as a substitute teacher in East Brunswick, New Jersey. You know, it's funny because that's the school system that I actually grew up in. And back in the 1980s, we were one of a handful of Black families in that community. And we were kind of like what you would call blockbusters. You know, when a Black family would move into an all-white neighborhood, they were supposedly we would bring down the property values. Fortunately, that wasn't really the case, but it came along with a whole lot of baggage. And so part of what I do as a teacher, one of the reasons that I actually became a teacher was to make sure that I could be the person to advocate for children in a way that I wasn't advocated for within my own school, except for by my mother. So that was my drive to becoming a teacher. My first formal teaching job, very similar to Jessica, was actually in Japan. I taught at public and private schools in Tokyo, Yokohama, Kawasaki, and Saitama, Japan. And I worked with elementary school kids and junior high school kids, and I really enjoyed most working with elementary school kids. So when I returned to New York after spending 6 years in Japan, I also attended Bank Street College, just like Nisa, and I focused on project-based learning. I focused on teaching literacy and teaching literacy not just through traditional methods, but also through like acting, through engaging with materials, and yeah, just trying to like make teaching more about like doing literacy, doing math, and as opposed to just merely learning about it. So let's see, why Prospect Sierra and the role of CoLab teacher. So look, if you have a look around at this deck right here, if you look at some of the photographs, I have a pretty wide breadth of experience that I bring to this job. If you look in the top corner, you'll see a playground, a wooden playground structure that I built for my son. I really enjoy working with wood. And so this was like one of those projects that gave me an opportunity to really test my skills and build something constructive and useful for my son. If you look at the top slide where it says CoLab, you'll see me sitting next to a bust of Martin Luther King. I have a background in ceramic sculpture, and I have a website you can all check out at some point in time. But I love ceramic sculpture. I tend to focus a lot on African-American content within my sculpture. And so that's another thing that I bring to this job. So a little bit of woodwork, a little bit of ceramics, and I play around with graphics. If you look at my self-portrait there, it's actually I took a photograph, I filtered it through this really fun like kind of like language software where you can take words and replace them with the shadows. Also, if you look at the bottom corner, some of my past experience teaching at the Blue School, I really engaged in a lot of like project-based learning at the Blue School. And what you see there is a Great Wall of China that the students built out of clay. And beyond that, you see like different aspects of the lives of people on either side of that wall. And the children made these wonderful dioramas, which they then took makey-makeys to tell the story of the different individuals on the different sides of the wall. So as a teacher, I really enjoyed bringing in lots of technology, bringing in lots of artwork, ceramics, building. These are the things that really, really engaged me as a teacher. And also in the middle, you see some of my cardboard creations and circuitry. So fast forward to why I chose the role of a collab teacher at Prospect Sierra. Having all this wide background of like making and building stuff, when the opportunity came to to become a collab teacher, I jumped at the opportunity. I just was like, this was the most amazing thing, the most amazing job I could possibly have, because it allowed me to bring in all of these different facets of my being into this role and then to share it with children. And so going back, I've developed curricula integrating arts and technology with language arts, social studies disciplines in classrooms in America and Japan. And in my role as lead teacher at the Blue School, I had the opportunity of wearing many hats. I was a social emotional guardian, the curriculum designer, the art instructor, film director, camera person, meditation guide, game designer, foreman, and even a blogger. And then in my role as a senior maker educator at the Kid Museum, I enjoyed explorations into the use of arts, craft, and STEAM activities as vehicles for discussions of issues related to culture and social justice and diversity. And yeah, so now having been here for a year and a half, I've had it's been the most rewarding experience being at Prospect Sierra. And so you can see some of what the kids have done throughout the grades from as early as TK to 4th grade. But before I go into all of that, let's talk about what is Collab. On the surface, Collab is a makerspace where kids learn how to use tools, materials, and techniques for crafting objects and solving problems. Now, you are probably more familiar with titles such as Maker Educator, STEM Instructor, or Design and Innovation Instructor. And any one of these terms could, on some level, describe what I do in this position. But what makes the title of Collab Teacher unique is the emphasis of collaboration with the other departments and grade level teams at Prospect Sierra. These collaborations have yielded some of the most exciting work I've done in my career. So within the 4th grade, their digital storytelling project is based on a piece of writing that's done with their teachers. So Jessica is one of the people who I've worked with very closely on this project. And so they write an I am poem, like I am Gil, I am the water bottle that sprays. I am the I am the clay in my on my sculpture. And then they take these I am poems, and then they use those as a basis to make storyboards. From the storyboards, they go and collect data, and then they collect photographic content, video content, and then I teach them how to manipulate that content using iMovie and other software, and to create these really beautiful digital stories. And in the 1st grade, if you look at that top slide where it says 1st grade, we're working on a community building project where they're simulating the basics of architectural design and construction while they explore the social impact of community spaces and the people who inhabit those spaces within their classrooms. So across the board, from TK to 4th grade, there are opportunities where I work with the teachers directly to see where the kids are, where they are with their math, where they are with their writing, where they are with their social studies or their social skills. And then I take all of that information and I try to determine, how can I add technology to that? How can I add some type of building project to that? And then we work together to develop really dynamic units where the kids just explore materials, they explore the use of tools, and they create things. And the Collab space is designed to engage groups of teachers for the purpose of designing meaningful projects, units, curriculum, and experiences for a diverse group of students who learn how to use these materials and tools and to take risks and to collaborate with others. So the CoLab is a positive, safe, and engaging space where children feel noticed, have their voices heard, and achieve success in a generative and creative academic environment. So everyone benefits from this. So if you are ever on campus, please feel free to drop by. My door is always open, whether I have a class going on or not. Please just feel free to contribute, to participate, to just observe. You're always welcome. Thank you. And I pass off to Sophia.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Gil. I adore hearing about CoLab. Such a beautiful, fun, creative space. I'm Sophia Janone, the school counselor at Tapscott. I'm a licensed clinical and educational psychologist, but really everyone calls me the feelings teacher. My parents were both elementary school educators. My grandfather, who I adored, was a psychiatrist, and working in school-based mental health has always been sort of the perfect fit for me. I've been at Prospect Sierra for now 5 years after 10 years in public charter school clinical settings. And I'm also the parent of 2 Prospect kiddos in 3rd and 6th grade. And our family came to Prospect as my kids were new to Prospect in 1st and 4th grade. So we kind of went through a transition period that was just, we found Prospect a beautiful and welcoming space. And I love hearing from all of these beloved teachers because my children adore them. My role at Prospect, really, I have many different roles, but what I see most about myself is that I'm just really one small part of a whole village that really centers SEL in everything that we do. I'm part of our student support team with 2 other learning specialists. And we really work collaboratively with parents, teachers, and of course, students. And really what I see is every day at Prospect, I see the way that social emotional learning is embedded in all of our classrooms, all of our specialists. In PE, you know, it's about skills building, but it's also about cooperation and growth mindset and learning to win and lose. In drama, it's about perspective taking and being able to put ourselves in someone else's shoes. With Kelly in music, kids are learning to pay attention and to work collaboratively and to listen. So I see it every day and more about the way that we do things than exactly the what that we're doing. My role is multifaceted in that I kind of think of myself at the student, the teacher, and the parent levels. With kids, I push into what you can see here on the slide is SEL circles with our littlest ones, TK through first. And there we're really working to build self-regulation skills, communication skills, friendship skills on a weekly basis, also just as a support to our more, our broader general SEL programs that include Toolbox and Ruler and mindfulness across the board. I also work in small groups with kiddos, some of our 3rd and 4th graders. When the social landscape gets a little bit more complicated, sometimes we'll have friendship groups or lunch bunches. I also push into our older grades sometimes to work or to supplement or kind of lift up aspects of our curriculum, maybe around perspective taking, or other lessons might look at how we spot that inner critic and build the inner coach inside of all of us. So, you know, I'm also out at Recess as a resource and kind of as a solutions coach or as a problem solver for kids to turn to, because that's really where we see kids translating these skills we're working on into real time when they're really at work on the yard, as play is sort of the, you know, the heart of where they're learning so many different things. With parents, I work really closely when something comes up for a kiddo to see if we can help create consistency across home and school, or to build, you know, skills at school that might help support something at home. For our more neurodiverse learners, we have, you know, comprehensive learning plans, and I kind of help collaborate with outside providers to find ways to bring recommendations or accommodations into the classroom in conjunction with our learning specialists. And then as a school, we support a lot of dialogue and community building and opportunities for parents around parenting. So we'll have parent coffees throughout the year. We also will highlight certain topics where we might have speakers come in and talk about themes around happiness, or Gil and I recently and Preeti talked about tech and child development. So we have a lot of fun in terms of looking at parenting in our kind of current context, as every year brings something new and different, thankfully. With teachers, we really know that children do as well as their primary grown-ups. So as a school, we really center well-being, not just for students and parents, but also for our faculty and staff. That'll look like staff eating together and reading books together and having different themes that we're working on over the course of the year to build collaboration, with robust, staff meetings where we're diving into topics or ways to support children more thoroughly. We have kid talks where we kind of collaborate with specialists and we support dialogue between classroom teachers so that we can kind of see the whole child, how they're showing up across all the different spaces in our campus. And so I collaborate regularly with teachers just as a thought partner around how are things going for a kiddo, how are friendships, how's attention, how's engagement, and sort of love of learning, as that love is one of our primary core values, as you heard from Nisa. On this next slide, you can see here just a couple of tools, across the classroom. Every classroom is unique in how it approaches SEL. And at the same time, we have certain foundation practices and principles that you'll see highlighted in every classroom. You'll see aspects that support emotion regulation and expression, and you'll see dimensions of coping skills. They look different for every grade. When I feel X, what tools can I use? That's something that's really highlighted, particularly in kinder and first grade. Also, you'll see something on the bottom right here that is what's called a classroom charter. Every classroom has a charter where kids will identify how they want to feel over the course of the year, and then actions that they will take to kind of show those feelings to their small community. In this first grade charter, you'll see, I feel happy, or to feel happy, we will play games and sing songs. To feel courageous, we will try hard things and stay calm. To feel safe, we can use gentle bodies and listen to our friends. To feel respected, we'll use our classroom, we'll treat our classroom with care and be kind to one another. To feel hopeful, we can make wings to fly. I love that. And then in the center here, you'll see Kisei referred a little bit to our current winter performance around change making. And really change making is kind of what I see as the culmination of this really kind of tiered approach to social emotional learning, where we start with safe relationships, we look at self-regulation, self-understanding, understanding of others, and all that then comes together in students who can think more broadly about the world and that connection between self and world. So this change-making project, we have everything here from our TK students to our fourth graders, making notes in these letters here around how they see change making and their connection to it, and what it means to them. So some examples are, I don't give up, I listen carefully, I cheer people up when they're feeling sad, I stand up for others, and I believe in hope, coming from one of our first graders. So you can see how those that connection between the really big world and then also these small ways and the feelings that we all carry. So I adore Prospect Sierra. I have the best job in the world. I'm surrounded by my amazing colleagues. And thank you for your time this morning and thinking about our school with us. And Renee, I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, Sophia, and thank you to all the faculty on the call this morning. As you see, we have beloved faculty all around the board, but especially I wanted to share out not just our homeroom teachers, but the essential art, music, drama, collab, library, science, garden, Spanish, and physical education. Of course, they couldn't be on the call this morning, but you will see them around campus when you visit our elementary campus. Time is almost at a close, so I want to wrap up a few details for those of you who are joining us. And if this is your very first sort of Prospect Sierra virtual event, I just wanted to sort of give you the high level of who our community is, if you haven't scoured our website just yet. We have 2 campuses in El Cerrito, located along the hills. And we love to say that we're 2 campuses, 1 school. When you join us at any grade level, our hope and dream is that your child will graduate from Prospect Sierra at 8th grade and then launch out to high school and beyond. Our graduates go everywhere in the Bay Area, public, parochial, independent. We have a high school counselor that works with families. And the main point is, again, for students to have the education that's going to serve them the best. Things to note is our vision and our value is to reflect the East Bay, the San Francisco East Bay. And there are over 17 cities represented at Prospect Sierra. People can be a bit surprised about that, but we are, again, looking to bring community together for the right purpose, which is our students and our faculty together. We hope that this sort of virtual open house has sort of wet your whistle and wanting to understand if this is a potential space for you. And I always like to highlight that what are the main entry points? And some schools, it is your TKK and your 6th grade. For us, we do welcome new students for grades 1, 2, 3, and 4. So don't be shy about contacting Amy, Beth, and myself to learn what does that look like. Our goal is, again, we start small in TKK for about approximately 14 students in TK. They step up to kindergarten and we have a range from 36 to 40 students. And then we grow those grade levels up to 48 by the time we get to 4th grade. So we hope you will explore us. Things that might be of interest to you. Certainly you don't have to's, but these are maybe helpful in identifying information that you're looking for. So we mentioned the online information sessions. As you can see for the elementary program, we only have 3 remaining. So go on Ravenna and sign up for those. And especially if you're a TK family, the asterisk on January 5th, we have a regular elementary in the morning, but we have a specific TK version in the afternoon where Wendy Costa, the lead teacher, is available to ask questions. If you'd like to, and I would encourage you to, come by and visit on the weekend. We call them our weekend campus strolls. Again, you sign up on Ravenna and you, your children, one child, or if you just want to keep this an adults only adventure, you can come to Tapscott as well as Avis. There are specific dates too, and explore. As Gil said, you can go into the co-lab and we actually let you touch things. We put them back though, Gil. So sign up for that if that's of interest to you. And then last, of course, community connections. So while Nisa Frank wasn't officially on this call, she has 2 evening events coming up later in this winter spring, as well as parent panels. And then of course, the hilarious PS Kids Talk to Kids. So it's an elementary version where our elementary students talk to your future students. And then last but not least, because I do think the biggest barrier to any school choice is cost. And so for us with flexible tuition, and I'm a flexible tuition recipient, my son, kindergarten through 12th grade, it made the difference in closing the gap. In order to call it affording an independent school education, we are all full pay families. We are all dedicating our resources and making a positive investment, but we don't all have the same resources in our home. So Prospect Sierra dedicates $2.6 million each year to our students and families. So 1 in 3 of our students receives the discount in order to be able to attend our school. So don't let that be a barrier. And if you have questions, ask me. So I know you found us by going to, of course, Ravenna. And on Ravenna, we have the application steps. As you can see, you don't have to wait until January 20th to file that application. The sooner the better, to get it off your desk and to send it into our hands so that we can help you and guide you through the next admission steps. And then, of course, I want 2 people to say hello to you because you've seen their names on our emails to you. I want to introduce Beth Lewis, who's in elementary, and Amy Sullivan, who's in middle school. Beth, why don't you start?
Hi, everybody. I'm Beth Lewis, and I look forward to meeting you and working with you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Sullivan, and I work primarily with middle school, but I also have a 3rd grader. I'm a proud Prospect Sierra parent, and I would be happy to answer any questions anytime.
Thank you both. We are a dream team. We do this together. And we really just want to say thank you for spending the morning with us. We hope you were inspired. We hope you are excited. I know I certainly am, as someone who's been connected to this school since 2008. I think you're hearing the trend. There are a lot of Prospect Sierra parents on this call, but I was actually a professional in a different area, in a different school, and I found my way here. And my son also graduated in 2017. So we hope to see you in the future. Thank you so much for spending your morning with us, and take care.